All right, everybody, we are live. This is Frederick Jones, the founder and publisher of Saturday AM, the world's most diverse manga anthology. And we're really excited tonight to be doing this live roundtable. We are working with our amazing creators, guys who helped us start this whole revolution. So really excited about that. And just really, super excited about this. So we know you guys are out there. Now we've disabled the live chat because we're trying to keep this very brisk or brief. So we just want to kind of run through the questions we have. If you want to submit questions while we're doing this so that we don't have to deal with all the extra questions we get when we have the live chat, then please feel free to drop a chat in or drop us a question either via our Instagram account, which you can find at obviously Instagram.com/Saturday-AM.com. In our Instagram stories, there's a spot where you can just easily submit a question. We got a number of questions from there. Also on our website, if you want the information about Saturday AM Submit, you can find it at the address you see here on the screen, www.saturday-am.com/submit. There's a link there that you can find where you can submit it on that page. It'll take you to a question section, and you can actually submit a question to us. Now, we have a ton of questions from that resource. We've also got some questions from Instagram. So I think we're going to be able to get to most of the questions we have, but we don't want to have this thing go on for 2 or 3 hours. So we're going to keep it very brief and just hit the questions we received. If you want to submit a question, you can do so in that capacity. So first of all, again, I want to thank my amazing co-founders of Saturday AM. We simply would not be here without them. We had a dream when we started in 2013, and we are well on our way to accomplishing many of the goals we set for ourselves. So I want to thank them tremendously for that. Let me introduce them now. First up, we have Raymond Brown. He is someone who is really, he was the first person I contacted about Saturday AM. He's a dear friend. He's overweight, and he's slightly country. But beyond that, he is Raymond Brown, creator of Bully Eater. Raymond, are you there? Have you unmuted your mic? How are you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to be here.
Excellent. All right. Next up, we have the lovely Andrea Doney. You guys know her as Andrea Tiliavoros, which is a far cooler, far more Battleship Galactica name. But she now has settled for the more mundane Andrea Doney. But that's because she now lives in a more mundane place, which is Canada. It's super cold up there. As I understand it, she's constantly getting into bar fights. But she is a very sweet person. I consider her like a sister. She's very important to us, and she's just a great person. She's the creator of Saigami. Andrea, how are you doing
tonight? Pretty good.
No fights this evening, Andrea?
Not so far, but it's just the night is only beginning.
Exactly. The night is young, and Andrea will slap a bitch. So I got you. I understand, Andrea. I understand. Well, and so last but not least, we have our superstar creator. White is one of the most impressive young people that I've had the pleasure to get to know. He can really do a lot of different things. His talent level is ridiculous. He's obviously our most popular creator that we have, but he's a really interesting young man. I mean, it's like again, when you get to be my age, you kind of see people for what their potential is, and the potential that White has just always been through the roof. But he's continued to mature throughout these last few years, and I've been really impressed with the extraordinary growth he's got, both as an artist, as a creator, as a brand marketer, just all the way through. So we're really excited to have White here tonight. White, how are you doing? You gotta unmute your mic, White.
Doing great.
There we go. All right. So good. So all right. So is everybody ready for the questions tonight? And then we're gonna talk a little bit about Saturday AM Submit at the end, and we may get a few questions after that as well. But is everyone ready?
Let's do it.
Cool. All right. So so again, if you guys don't know, if you're tuning in, you don't know, we are Saturday AM. We're the world's most diverse manga anthology. And so what that means, of course, is that if you love things like Shonen Jump and characters like Naruto, Dragon Ball, One Piece, we make that type of content. We make it in the same art style, but we do it with an eye towards diversity. Our creators, as you can see, are from all over the world. They're from all different backgrounds. They're not just from Japan. The characters don't just look Japanese or Caucasian. And we're really, really proud of the things that we've been able to build as a result of this. So I'm extremely proud that Saturday has grown the way that it has. And tonight we are giving a discussion about a new program. We've done many things in the last 5 years. We hit our 100th issue. We're now at issue 104. We debuted a sister publication called Saturday PM. We have a gigantic art tournament called March Art Madness, soon to be a gigantic art community called Fan Art Friday. We've discovered an amazing assortment of creators every year, thanks to things like Pilot Manga and Summer of Manga. And we produce graphic novels. A couple of them have been bestsellers. So we've done a lot. We're not resting on our laurels. But this new program, Saturday Submit, is all about taking what we stand for, which is Saturday AM being for everyone. Doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your race, your gender, your orientation, your religion. We make manga for everybody. And that means that we therefore then look to work with everybody. And so that has never been more true than with Saturday AM Submit, which is a program designed to take what we do so well, which is a brand and an identity, and apply it to creators who maybe have been producing great content on other platforms. So now finally, those creators can work with us without worrying about being exclusive. And conversely, we get to work with them without worrying about taking all the things that we do and trying to apply them to creators who either don't need it or just in a different space than what we can do. And so therefore we can rely on our properties like Apple Black and Clockstrucker, Sagami, and Bully Eater, and worry less about properties that are not our core business. So it's a win-win for everybody. We expect to, as we always have done, to discover some amazing creators from other countries. And tonight we're going to answer all your questions associated with that and other things. So first question goes to White Manga. White, what are your favorite anime? In fact, I'm going to ask this for everybody, but what's your favorite anime?
Honest answer is I don't really have one. Usually when I get asked this question, I just say Bleach, because Bleach is one of the titles that, after consuming that, it was like a ignition to push me towards, making manga, making comics. I already kind of wanted to do that, but like Bleach was like the shove in the back after reading that and just being inspired. But, I like Bleach, FMA, One Punch Man, the usuals, Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, and the list goes on. But to just answer the question, I'll say Bleach.
The big gun. Whoops. Okay, so the big gun titles from a few years back. And with that being said, then Andrea. Well, actually, I'm gonna save you for last, Andrea, because we know we're gonna get something crazy with you. Let's go to Raymond. Raymond, what are your favorite anime?
Oh man, I would say recently, I would say well, it's not that recent, but Hunter x Hunter is still strong in my mind. Naruto, they're the big stuff. And I would say pretty much all of like 90s anime from back in the day, like Ninja Scroll and can't even think of all the names now. Street Fighter animated series, things like that. So those are my favorite.
Okay. Andrea, I'm not sure I want to know the answer to this.
Well, I also like many of these big titles, like, FMA and Naruto and all this stuff. But if I have to pick one top favorite, I would go with Haikyuu.
Haikyuu, the volleyball manga.
Yes.
Andrea, now White mentioned, very philosophical titles like Full Metal Alchemist, which touches on, philosophical questions like, sacrifice and existence. Raymond chose titles that deal with not philosophy, but really kinetic, fighting things. Why do you like Haikyuu?
Because it's one of the best sports manga and anime out there. It is very, very good. I could go on about this for hours, but it has very good character development, very good action, and overall very good story. And pretty boys.
Thank you, Andrea. I was waiting to get to the heart of the matter, Andrea, because I was going to say, do you play volleyball in your real life, Andrea?
I did.
You did. You did. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know this, but Andrea is the size of Gary Coleman from Different Strokes. So, Andrea, you play volleyball as what?
Well, it was
were you on
in
the
high
team?
school, so
Were
you can't really call high school volleyball
Yeah,
because it was just
just
gym
saying,
class.
were you on the team? Were you a manager? Were you the volleyball?
I was the one who was always jumping to get the ball. Like I was the kamikaze player.
Okay. All right. All right.
No, we're sure Andrea was the starter team. You just trying to bully.
The author he saw Andrea and was inspired to make the manga.
Absolutely. They thought, but I want Andrea to read the manga. What can I do? Pretty boys.
Make it pretty.
Pretty
Make the
boys.
boys beautiful.
I do love as well, Andrea, that you, again, obviously I'm a little older than you, but of the history of amazing sports manga in Japan, Slam Dunk, Prince of Tennis, Ice Shield 21, Whistle, Captain Tsubasa, Haikyuu is what you consider to be one of the best sports anime. And come on, woman, come
Like,
on.
for real. I mean, just check out the statistics. Like, those numbers don't lie.
What statistic are we talking about? The sales statistics?
Sales, readership, all the thing. Like, Haikyuu is huge in Japan.
I know, I don't disagree with that at all. I agree because of the pretty boys.
Not only because of that, like, come on, like, compared to Prince of Tennis, like you mentioned, Haikyuu is not that much into the whole the shonen genre, like Prince of Tennis.
I can't speak to that entirely, but I will say that yes, I mean that was obviously Prince of Tennis' biggest sort of thing that they had going for. Although tennis was a sport that's very big in Japan, to be fair. But yeah, no, I get your point. Okay, well I'm just teasing, of course. So there you go, folks. Those are the great. Those are the things that our artists are really into in terms of favorite anime. I don't, for me, I'm old school. So for me, my all-time favorite anime forever is Gundam. I just love Gundam. I think to me, it typifies everything that anime does right. And but in terms of recently, I must say, I think in the last several years, I've really enjoyed Mob Psycho 100. To me, it's the most freshest, original anime that I've seen in quite some time. I enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Naruto, but Mob Psycho 100 to me is just really expert. Everything about it is just so well done. I'm a big fan of it. Next question. So we're gonna go with White on this one. So White, how does one go about getting their manga well known?
This is one of those like huge, difficult to answer in one go question, but like doing my best answering it, I'll say if you're trying to get your content, your manga, comic, whatever you want to call it, web comic, whatever it is, popular, first things first, it has to be interesting. And you want to make sure that anybody who's getting into it, because there's so much competition and so much content out there, you want to make sure you're making a very strong first impression. I also advise to have some diversity in there, not just from the standpoint of ethnicity, but on all fronts, whether it be ethnicity, size, gender, and I'm referring to your cast, religion. The list goes on. Where the character is, what genre it is. You want to make sure you stand out, but also represent the world that we live in, and you will connect with more people that way. So not only is it a morally the right thing to do, but from a business standpoint, it is also the right thing to do. And then you want to take advantage of what, say, creators in the past did not have, and that would be the internet and social media. And you want to be social media savvy on all fronts with all that's out there, whether Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you learn them differently. They're all different, and you need to do a lot of research to understand how they work and the best way to utilize them to your advantage. And that takes time. So you need patience. And then once you've nailed all that down and you've come up with an ongoing, good, strong strategy to creating content online and creating even different kinds of content designed to get new eyes to you. Once you've nailed it down, doesn't mean it's actually going to work. You then need to be consistent fully and prepare yourself to be open for opportunity when it comes. Prepare yourself to be lucky, to when, you know, something does happen and then everything else starts to take off like dominoes. So consistency, but the first things first, the content actually has to be good, and you need to make sure that that's actually what you want to do in the first place. So to just summarize everything there, there's more to it, but you know, that's my answer.
So that's good stuff. Does anybody else want to add to that at all? Or?
Yeah, definitely, especially the consistency part. That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, so look, you know, I think that you know, look, what I would say is that, you know, this question is one of those questions where there's no way to get your manga well known. I mean, just that's the bottom line. Like, there's no real way, because a lot of the stuff, that's like saying, how do I get well known? How do I get successful? The stuff that you have to do in life is the same. I don't care if you're trying to be a bookkeeper, if you want to be a janitor, you have your own janitorial business, if you want to be, you know, the manager at your local fast food restaurant. The reality of all these things is that it takes work. That's just the bottom line. It takes work, it takes diligence and determination, and it takes luck. And so at some point, you can't predict luck. So I think one thing White said that I do like a lot is you have to be ready to take advantage of the luck when it comes, but you can't predict luck. You don't know what's going to happen. We've got some creators who are super talented who, you know, didn't get on social media when they could have, or didn't know to get on social media. And so even though they deserve to have more success and fame, they don't have it right now because, you know, they weren't active on those things. So, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, you know, my rule that I've always told, you know, the artists, and that I've always told, you know, a lot of upcoming creators is, look, if you make content to be enjoyed, if you make content to shock people, you know, shock them in the sense that they care about the character, they want to see the character win, they want to root for the character, they get scared if the character's in trouble. If you make content with that in mind, you will build an audience. The question of how fast, how many audience you build, that's all things that it's hard to judge. But if you stick with the fundamental of, like, I just want to create a really exciting story that will make people happy, you stick with that, you stay consistent, you do it constantly, and you make yourself available. And then again, the thing that White said I think is dead on is that you be ready, that you put yourself in position to be ready to take advantage of the luck when it comes. Then you will have success. But we've been at this 5 years. It's always shocking to me when we see that Saturday AM has fans in places that we've never personally attempted to get fans at. Yemen, Iraq, Israel, India, you know, it's always shocking when we see that. But at the same time, you know, as someone who, you know, my job, my career was to take brands like Yu-Gi-Oh! and Armored Core and you know, various video games such as Crash Bandicoot, and to make them successful. You know, I can tell you that, like, you know, yes, there's, you know, when you've got a lot of money and you've got TV and all sorts of things, and yes, you can get people aware of what you're doing. But at the same time, when you're working on the webcomic level, trying to get your own title out there, it's tough because you're not going to have access to the money. You're not going to have access to the publicity. You're going everything you do, you're going to have to do on your own, unless you're part of a group like Saturday AM. And even then, you still have to be ready to do stuff on your own and to do things to support the group. So it's hard. There's no real set path to it. Just work hard, be consistent, care about the consumers that you're creating content for, and be ready to take advantage of the luck when it comes. Because when it comes, it's not going to come again. So you got to take advantage of it when it hits the first time. Let's see. Next question. Let me give this to Raymond. Raymond, could someone under the age of 19 submit their own comics and manga? Raymond, I hope you know the answer to this.
No.
I was like, damn it, Raymond, you tell them. Sure. I would say, damn it, Raymond.
Maybe that 17 is a 6 or 5 or.
No, it should be 19 on the thing. I think I changed it to 19. Where's the 17 at?
No, it is 19.
Yeah.
But no, you can't.
Why do we have that minimum age? Do you know? I mean, you want to tell
them? I don't know, like literally why we have it, but I mean, from what I know, that, you know, the 19, you know, being 19, you know, we do need you, you know, because you do have to, you know, sign paperwork and stuff like that. So you got to be responsible for that kind of thing. And typically, you know, you rarely have the life experience to really do comics at a level that Saturday needs you to do them at, less than 19, so it's but
Yeah, I mean, listen. So I think that in a nutshell, I think the thing we have to look at when it comes to this is, like Raymond said, this is about there's some legal things that we want to make sure of, and so obviously we want you to be older. There's also just as White said it before about consistency. Consistency requires that you actually are in a position to be consistent, and when you have schoolwork and school every day and various things that will prohibit you, you're not in control of your day schedule. When you're that young and you don't have that sort of ability, then it makes doing something like this more difficult. Not totally difficult, but just more difficult. And because we want to get creators who are really able to communicate and able to produce content to excite their fans, and to be able to take advantage of that fan base that we can bring to them through Saturday AM Submit, then we want them to be in a position to respond to things quickly, whether that's creating new content, making edits to content that maybe we can't publish the way it is. We want them to be ready for that. And when you are under 19 years old, you typically don't have an ability to do that. Now, we've published creators younger than that, and I'm sure we will still. Summer of Manga is a definite place for us to do that. But again, 19 for us seems like a really safe place because you're either in college or you're out of school entirely. And, you've had some life experience. And so you're in a position to dedicate yourself a bit more to telling a story. So that is the reason. Let's see. Next question. Andrea Voros. I'm sorry, Andrea Doney. Did you ever submit your story to Shonen Jump?
I actually did.
You did.
They had this international contest a couple years ago. Well, it was, I think, in 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. So I did create a one shot for that, and I sent it in.
Let me ask that question to Raymond. Raymond, you ever submit anything to Shonen Jump?
No, not to Shonen Jump. The first run of Bully Eater I submitted to Yen Plus. That's my school.
That's a long. That's
kind of a contest, huh?
I said that's a long time ago. That's back as Yen Plus. That's back when they were doing the magazines.
Yeah. They had they would have an annual contest for similar to how we do with Summer of Manga, where it's a contest for basically pitches, one shots, and I went for it. I'm obviously I didn't even come close to making it, but I learned a lot.
Hey, buddy, we believe in you.
Thanks.
White Manga, you ever submit anything to Shonen Jump or any companies?
Technically, no, but I did. They were doing some kind of storyboarding contest one time, and I remember submitting, but I didn't. I only realized this later. I put in the wrong email, so they never got it. So technically, I didn't submit. And then I did submit one of my old titles, when I was still learning everything. And looking back now, it was never going to work. But a series I did, a one shot I did called Candlejack, and I submitted that to Yen Press, probably the same time when Ray did his as well. And that's that. But Shonen Jump, no.
Yeah, Yen Press is funny. So the guy, I was an executive at Blockbuster. And so, and I was, carrying manga for Blockbuster stores, Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously in particular. But I remember Kurt Hassler was my counterpart at Barnes and Nobles, and but of course Barnes and Nobles had a much bigger manga. And this is back when manga went through that first phase when manga really exploded in the early 2000s, And so Kurt was he was well known. So I remember it was like a big thing when he left to go become part of Yen Press. He was there with a guy named Rich Johnson that I knew from DC Comics, and now I think Kurt is still there. I think he's now in charge of that whole thing. But Yen launched. They had all these plans, and I guess it didn't quite work the way they thought. But they're still pretty big. They're still doing big things. But Yen Plus. I remember that magazine, and I'm trying to think how long it lasted. We got to look up and see how long that lasted because that was interesting. It was back when manga was different.
A long time ago.
I mean, yeah, that shows that goes to show how old we are. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are old.
Let's see
Yeah,
here.
we get it.
Exactly. Andrea, I must say, I was talking to Andrea the other day, and I did not know Andrea was as old as she is. Andrea's an old ass woman. I had no idea Andrea was as old as she was. Andrea's about to. Andrea, you're not 30. You're about to turn 30, right? Oh my God, Andrea, it is a fast level of decline. Trust me on that. Just think, Andrea, you end up looking like Raymond. That's
Oh boy. Oh boy. You look like me in my Saturday for Everyone video. Just tired.
Good. All right, so let's see. We're gonna answer a question from Instagram now. White, we'll give you this one. How long do backgrounds take to master?
That's it's relative. It's different for everybody, and I wouldn't even say that I've mastered it. It's something I don't even know if anybody's truly mastered it. But like obviously, there are people who are at a very superior level.
I would put the creator Berserk. His backgrounds are, god damn, they're great.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of creators who have a different. There's like a different artist. It's the same series, but like a different artist who is like focusing on that kind of stuff as well.
Right. So not him though. To be fair, not him.
I actually don't know, but like if you say it, I'll take your word for it. And so to master it, I'll say the same way to master anything. It takes a long time. It takes years, and it depends on how much you put into it. How much you put into it is what you're gonna get out. And regardless of that, especially if you're like somebody who is starting from scratch, if you take the necessary steps and you do the right amount of research, and again, it comes back to consistency, and you're consistent, you will get there. I don't know about mastering it, but in terms of perfection, but like you will get probably to the level that you're aiming at, but it just boils down to how much time you put into it. Now, if you're asking about me particularly, and how long it took for me to get where I'm at, how comfortable I'm at drawing background, the answer is I don't know, 10 plus years. And so I know that I only really like now I get like I do like an illustration, and let's say I want to illustrate a whole freaking city, and you still get that moment of, oh gosh, this is going to take a long time to produce, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. But like recently, especially with the recent pages I've been working on, I'm more like confident in my approach, and it took 10 plus years to get to that point. So if we're going from me actually taking comic creation seriously, which is like maybe late 08 or early 09, and to now, let's say like 10 years.
10 years,
So but it's different for everybody, because during those 10 years I wasn't like focusing on, I need to get better on backgrounds, so it's different. I went to school, I did a bunch of other stuff, but it's just how much time you put into it. You can probably knock it out in much shorter than that. I've seen people do that, knock out and be comfortable drawing backgrounds in a shorter amount of time, knowing when to put backgrounds, because knowing your style and actually knowing when to implement backgrounds. If you open a comic, you don't see backgrounds every single time. There are times where there's a certain skill you get to where no background is actually the answer. You know what I mean? And to figure all that stuff out is just the amount of work time you put into it. And for me, for the amount of time I put in, it took like 10 plus years.
Andrea, what about you? I mean, I know you. I've seen some intimate backgrounds with you, some intricate backgrounds. I mean, what do you attribute in terms of how long it takes to master doing background?
I agree with White's point that it's a long time, and for me, it took over a decade, and I'm still in that phase where whenever I'm taking on a background, I'm not that confident. I spend more time on it, and it can be really overwhelming sometimes, because clearly in the beginning I wasn't focusing on backgrounds, so I wasn't practicing them enough. So for me, it really started when I started drawing Saigami in 2013, that I started to focus on background. So So I think it comes down to whether you are dedicated enough to spend time and effort on the backgrounds. Because for some creators, for example, in Atlas article, we will have some crazy good backgrounds. And Rick is only 21, so he probably doesn't have over a decade practice with his background. But for some creators, it's just easier. For some, it's a slower process.
Yeah, I'll because I'm sure people don't know who that is. So I'll talk about that in a second, and I'll give my thoughts real quickly. But let me complete the triumvirate here. Raymond, I think we would all agree, out of the three of us, you're probably the most accomplished background person. What do you make of this?
No, not even close. No, I'll tell you this. I
art of shadow.
No, no. Yeah, I either do none or I cheat. I use 3D software. If I had to draw backgrounds, I wouldn't even do comics because I don't have time. It's all 3D and I draw on top of it. The end.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I gotta call Raymond on this. I'm gonna see what Raymond's gonna say. But yeah, well, guys, in chapter 3, 5 years ago, that killed me.
I was sitting back wondering. I was like, is he really gonna ask me this question? I'm sitting back doing something else, thinking like, surely he's gonna go to somebody else.
Don't worry, I got questions I can ask just for you. No, so look, let me say, because I'm not an artist, so I can't comment on that. And I'm pretty sure what White and Andrea have said is really the most intricate way to look at it. I will say this from a business standpoint, that I think one of the things that is stigmatized as webcomics is that it doesn't feel as complete as a traditional comic book. Now, we all know that is the wrong attitude to have. And I think, as I often tell these guys and tell some of our creators, you have to, first and foremost, you have to believe in what you do. You have to be proud of what you do. If you talk in a kind of low key way and you don't really express how exciting what we're doing is, then that feeds into this psychological narrative that is driven about webcomics as being not really real comics. And that's not true. But one of the reasons it exists is because we have to acknowledge that there is a problem where a lot of webcomics, particularly some of the other websites, are done in a way to where backgrounds are not as important. So what that does is it changes the relationship to the story, because the story has to feel lived in. If you're creating the content, again, for the reader and not for yourself, then you want to give them verisimilitude. You want to make, whether it's, think about Naruto and think about how real that world was, even though it's a complete fantasy world, right? I mean, when you saw the village, so much of Konoha felt lived in, right? He took great care for even determining certain things with, the way that the houses were built, because obviously they're built, it's like a valley inside of a mountain. So, you get like a lot of stone structures. You get a lot of cracked rock. It was you're walking on cracked rock. Like, go back and look at Naruto and you see all the detail he put into that. And by the way, yes, Kentaro Miura does his backgrounds. That's why, by the way, Berserk never comes out except for like once a year. But these are all facts, so so take them for what they are. But the thing about backgrounds, though, in my view, is that they're important, because I think that for you to really sell a story, you have to make it feel lived in. And when the characters are walking around blank environments, it doesn't feel lived in. Now, there's some artistic styles where that becomes really, it delivers you into this different reality. And because everything in it's so heightened and so different and so, clearly not real, then, it works, right? Comic strips are like this, right? If you read Peanuts or Asterix, if you're overseas, then you've seen, that same thing, right? It's more heightened, it's kind of cartoonish, so you don't need to have all these detailed background and stuff. But I think for a lot of works that things are a bit more, the stories are a bit more serious, the stakes are a bit higher, then you have to give them real detail, because that's what is required to really make the story feel as complete as possible. And webcomics for technical reasons, and then also because a lot of the creators are amateurs, doesn't do that. And I think that's part of the reason why there's this sort of disconnect between companies and individuals who don't want to give the same credit to a hardworking webcomic creator as they do to traditional comic books. Traditional comic books, even if you think the artwork's not great, particularly in American comic books, they still have backgrounds. They're still putting you firmly into the environment. And I think webcomics have got to. I think Saturday M pushes for this. I think a lot of webcomics in general have to find that pathway to get closer to connecting the reader to a real environment, and less about just trying to get them through a fast-paced story that they can flip on their phone with their thumb. Because one of those is going to last, and one is just going to kind of seem like disposable entertainment. And that's why I think webcomics are perceived as disposable entertainment. So anyway, that's the thoughts on it. But there's a lot of things to think about there regarding backgrounds. Let's go to Andrea on this one. Any general tips, Andrea, on world building?
Well, that pretty much connects to what you were saying earlier, that your backgrounds and your world needs to feel like it's lived in. Like, make it a world that the reader would want to enter, that it would feel real. And basically, you need to handle your world as if it was its own character, and dedicate the same amount of development and build up to your world as well as your characters.
Okay. Raymond, do you have anything to add to that about world building? Any tips on that?
Yeah. You don't have to do it all at once. Sometimes you see the mistake of new creators. They'll like hit you with this big, huge, long chunk of text telling you every little thing about their world on the first page or two, where it's kind of introduce it as needed, trickle it out throughout the story so that it's not so overwhelming, in the beginning, so that people can actually get behind it, apply, kind of what mentally get behind the ideas that you're trying to induce in the world. So I just say take your time and introduce it slowly and naturally.
All right. And so, White, you want to add anything to that?
I think not really. I think they hit the nail on the head. Especially like trickling it out. It's the same thing with a character you introduce. You don't tell us everything about the character in the first page or in the first 2 pages. You kind of like let it come. You basically only give off the information that's necessary at the time of whatever is going on in the story right now. But obviously, there's a lot more to consider when putting together a world building. The tradition of the world, the landscape, the cultures, how everything works, and you viewing yourself giving yourself the freedom to do things depending on what kind of world you're building, especially if it's like very fictional, giving yourself room to make up stuff as well and having fun with it. But I think for the most part, everyone's kind of hit the nail on the head. I will just put in there, I've made 2 videos about world building, and so they're like, one's like 10 minutes long, one's like 30 minutes long. You can just watch them and they go in greater detail, I think. But for little chunks of answers, I think we're fine. If you want to know more, you know where to go. Online resources have always been a great. It's part of being a creator and taking advantage of, the internet.
Folks, I'm going to give a special sticker to White for that was a fantastic plug for his YouTube channel. White Manga TV. Raymond Brown.
White is you can't ask him any question. You ask him any question, he has a video for it. But what time is it? I'm not answering that question. Watch my video.
My favorite part was how you started. Like, I think everybody answered it pretty well, but now if you really want the straight up,
my video answers it better. Link in the description below.
You know how many people email me about like questions that I've answered like a million times. So it's kind of like there's so many times I get a question, I'll just drop them a link. I'll just drop them a link. And if you really want to know, you watch the video.
I know it well. I get that literally every time we do anything with Saturday AM. I get the exact same question over and over again. I'm like, dude, clearly you're not a fan of ours if you've never seen me talk about this stuff, the backstory conversation and plotting and all this stuff. I've talked about it so many times. I'm like, dude, When the magazine comes out. I love that question. When does your magazine come out, dude? You clearly don't subscribe to us, but it's all good. That's why we're here, folks. We're answering your questions and giving you some things to think about. And folks, if you want additional information from Raymond about backgrounds, he has a new book coming out called "Just Doing Backgrounds with Raymond Brown." Let's see. So next up, I'm going to ask everyone. This is a question for White. But I'm going to ask everybody this because it's a very technical question, and we know now that White's going to tell you to check out his video. So, Andrea, starting with you, what software does White use to make his rap music?
I don't know, but he probably has a video on it.
That's right. So if you guys don't know, White, of course, again, as I said earlier, White's very multi-talented. He's very multidisciplined, and he's also does hip-hop. We've never discussed White's hip-hop stuff, but so let me give this opportunity, White. Why don't you tell people real quickly about your hip-hop thing that you do and how people can learn more about it?
It's completely left field because in fact, I'll just say right now, if it's not safe for the workplace music and it's hip hop, old school, new school blend. So it's not for everybody. I do it when I have the free time to do it, which is rare. And I still tie it into the anime stuff I do, manga creation. So go by stage name Over 9,000, which I think if you get it, you get it. If you don't, whatever. And that's really all there is to say about that. If you want to know more, just search Over 9,000 on Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere, and you find my music there. As to what software I use, I actually don't know. I just go to one of my buddies has like a nice home studio, and that's where I make it.
All right, Raymond, do you want to take an opportunity to tell people about your transportation work?
It's not safe for work. What I transport. You might have children listening.
Folks, I can tell you that right now that if we spent a video talking about the stuff that Raymond has done outside of Saturday AM, it would be probably the most exciting thing you've heard because there are twists and turns that you won't see coming.
It's true.
Yeah, and there's a lot of death. A whole lot of death.
A lot of death.
A lot of death. Okay. All right. So, folks, we are going to just continue answering some of these questions, but, we intended this to be no more than about 90 minutes. So we're going to get to the Saturday AM submit questions at about 11:35. So roughly about another 10, 12 minutes. So I'm going to answer a few more questions. I asked my creators here to please keep stuff brief so we can get to the big Saturday AM related stuff at the end. So let me go to let me see here. I got a question from someone on. We got some new questions. While this has been going on, people sent some new questions in. So I'm trying to locate those. All right. So let's go to let's start with this person here. They have a comic they're doing, and they want to know. It's a very simple question. Does Ember Soul sound like a good title?
Sure. Yeah, it sounds like it could be a good title. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say yeah. It's not hard. It's not hard to say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Andrea, you want to weigh in on Ember Soul?
I like it. So yeah, it could work.
It reminds me of there's like a female professional wrestler named Ember Moon. Ember Moon. So I just thought of that. But yeah, Ember Soul. I'm sure there's a soul in there that's Ember. So we'll go for it.
Yeah, so I'm real big about this. You guys see my videos with summer manga or pitch sessions and stuff. To me, names are really important. I think that that's how I've always been in my career when I was working on big video game titles and stuff. I always look for names because if a title has a great name, like Clock Strike or something like that, it's instantly recognizable. It's not something to be repeated. So I'm not gonna agree with these guys. I don't remember Soul to me sounds like if someone told me that was the name of a band and told me it was the name of a flower, told me it was the name of a jewel, told me that was the name of a video game character, a video game, I can believe all of those. So I can't say it strikes me as being unique enough. But I will say that with a name like that, then it really ultimately comes down to the title and, you know, how integrated the name is, how, you know, what the story is, how, you know, what the story gives off in terms of the kind of feel of the story, which a lot of that has to also do with art. So I think, you know, names, again, they matter from a business standpoint, because at the end of the day, the goal with names is to have a name that if a kid is wanting to go buy your book, your video game, your action figure, what have you, and they go into a store, you want them to be able to tell their parents, hey, can I get some money because I want to buy Ember Soul? And if the parents are like, okay, well, I'll go get it for you, or, you know, where's it at? You know, you can go pick it up and bring it, you know, or, you know, honey, can you go grab that for the kid? You want the name to be something that when they go there, they'll be able to find it. So one of my all-time favorite names from a business standpoint is Pokemon, because it's just, I mean, it's like, it's easy to say, but it's totally unique. If you see it, you can't not see it. You know, like there's no parent who struggled. They may have struggled with saying Pokemon, but they didn't struggle with finding Pokemon when they went to the store to go buy something. So again, coming from a business standpoint, having done this for a long time, I can tell you that I take the name thing very seriously. And so this doesn't strike me as anything, you know, hugely impressive, but at the same time, if your story works, if you got the right setup for it, then it should be great. So I think it should be okay. Let's see. Next question is, this is a good question here. It's a good general question before we get to the Saturday submit stuff. Let's see here. Let's see, where is it at here? All the artists. How do you all balance your work life, if you have one, and your art career path? So this is a great question. This is a great question that takes us into Saturday submit. So I'm going to start with Andrea, and then we'll just go down the line. So Andrea, how do you balance your work life and your art career path?
Well, right now I'm in a lucky situation that I have a husband who supports me, so I can focus on art.
He's a multi-millionaire. Go ahead.
Getting there, maybe. Hopefully. So yeah, right now I have it easy, but you know, before that I was working crazy shifts. But you know, I knew that this was what I wanted to do, so I just made the time for it. I rather took on 24 hours shift in order to get a day off after that I could spend the whole day drawing comics. So you know, you got to work with what you have, and you need to find the time.
Fair enough. Raymond Brown, you are married as well. What and your wife also a jewel thief. So what do you international? She's an international spy. What do you? How do you make it work?
You have to you have to just make it a priority, like everything. Like if you know, same way you would make, you know, playing video games priority or whatever you do. Damn. You just got to make it a priority. I mean, I don't know how I do it, to be honest. Yeah, just gets done.
Yeah, that's true. White, as I think the youngest person here, how do you balance it? Because you obviously do have concerns. You have family matters and stuff, but how do you balance it all?
You know, similar. Ray put it perfectly. It's like true, honest answers. I don't know. It just happens and it just gets done. Or at least you try your best to get it done. I'll say that for me, what I've started doing, and it helps. It helps a great deal, especially during the years that I was in college at the same time. So things can get like really hectic and stressful. And doing in college, and then got YouTube, and then I still have to make the comic, and then a bunch of other stuff going on. What helps is being organized and having a schedule, and actually giving everything time. So the time you want to spend on this comic, the time you're going to spend on everything, and construct your days for the whole week. And you also want to put in there, you know, things that make sure you're not just a zombie drawing or doing work every day. You want to put in, working out, eating healthy, stuff like that. And even putting in time for just nothing, to be spontaneous in those times and do whatever makes sense at that time. But you want to structure it and think about your days and how much time you're going to spend on each thing, and try your best to be consistent and follow through. And, it might not be perfect in the beginning, but you kind of want to stay consistent. And sometimes you might need to switch up your schedule. You try whatever maybe you create one the first time, it doesn't work for whatever reason. You make adjustments and then you try again. And that's how it's worked. It's not perfect, but like trying to be organized helps a great deal. Cleaning, like, even before I can do a comic, if my apartment's a mess or something like that, it's just hard to focus and to have a clear head. You need like a clear space as well, and so yeah, all those things come through. But short answer is like organize yourself to make it happen.
And one thing I want to add, and this will go kind of go into Saturday and Submit, but is have a deadline. If you can have a deadline that's not set by you, it will do wonders for you. Like a deadline that you actually take seriously. Because if you actually have a deadline looming over your head, and like I said, you respect the deadline, you respect the stakes or whatever is behind the deadline, it'll change everything. It'll change everything.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Actually, I want to jump on that real quick. There's two things you guys said I thought was really good, and I also want to, because I learn from these guys as well sometimes, and I learn from White to plug my stuff. So, folks, I talk about all this in the Saturday FM podcast. Get all the information you need on exactly what you got to do to succeed via the Saturday podcast. You can do so at www.saturday-am.com/SAT But now, two things that they guys said that I want to touch on. I could not agree with White more. I couldn't agree with Andrea more about marrying a sugar daddy. I couldn't agree more with White about having a clean space. Oh my God, that is so important. I know everybody's different, but I really think that creativity is such an intimate thing that if you're not in a space where you can just have room to just be, and I know that sounds hokey and hippie and all this stuff, and maybe I'm an old man, so maybe that I'm saying all this stuff because that's the way I live. But I'm telling you, to me, it makes a tremendous difference if I'm in a space that allows me to breathe. I don't feel pressure. I don't feel like I'm stepping over stuff. I'm in a nice, clean area. It don't be pristine. It's gotta be all brand new furniture. Just some place where you feel secure, to where everything you need is right there. You're not having to reach and try to find things, and you can just allow your brain to just dream about the world you're building and not about all the other distractions that can go into stuff. If you're in a noisy room, that's really difficult. So if you're in a place like Starbucks, which I go to a lot, put some earbuds in and listen to music and just allow your mind mentally to transport you somewhere else while you're working. I could not agree more on that. I'm so glad White said that. The second thing, the thing that Raymond said, I totally agree with that as well. Slight difference about one thing he said though. Like I don't think someone else has to set your deadlines, but deadlines, folk, matter. Deadlines matter. One of the reasons why webcomics get taken you just don't get taken seriously is because the creators just are winging it. Everything is winging it, right? They're winging the backgrounds, they're winging the story, they're winging their fanboy or fangirl inclinations to just tell basically Dragon Ball but cooler, which is literally something that we were told years ago for somebody who wanted to make a manga for us. Everything is winging it. And, when it comes to deadlines, you can't wing that. And when it comes to building fans, again, like I said, there's no set way to do it, but the one set way to do it, the one real honest answer is that create great content for people that you want them to like and make it consistently. That means you got to have a deadline. So when you look at these webcomics, they're like, we update Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's great. That's great because they're training their readers to expect them to do it, which means that they have to do it. And and the readers will respect the creator if they see the creators taking their assignment to create content for the reader, which let's be honest, the reader's not paying for this content. So if you're doing it regularly and the fan can see that you're dedicated to it, then they have more respect and will support you more often than not because they see that you're taking this seriously. So deadlines matter. Don't believe you have to have them set for you. But if you set them and you live by them for your fans, you train your fans with it, then you will see success based on building a fan base. Whether or not that's enough for you to retire or enough to not have a second job or whatever, that's no one can answer that. But have a deadline. Have a deadline, work to the deadline, and have a clean area you can work in so you can allow your brain to just be free of distraction. Could not agree with those two things. All right. So now we're going to talk about Saturday Submit. Folks, Saturday Submit is a really simple setup. And we gotten a lot of questions about this. Now, we got more questions I'm going to give these guys, but I do want to set the frame here for a couple of things. Why are we doing Saturday Submit? We're doing it because there are creators that we've always admired and wanted to work with, but they were concerned because Saturday AM and Saturday PM are exclusive. Well, now with Saturday AM Submit, we're no longer going to be a place where everybody has to be exclusive. Keep in mind, we will still have exclusive titles. Apple Black is still exclusive. Clock Striker, Bully Eater, Sagami, Massive Multiplayer World of Ghosts, Hammer, still exclusive to Saturday AM. And then we're going to have some exclusive titles for Saturday PM as well. But if you are a creator of great content that would be perfect inside of Saturday AM or Saturday PM, then you now have the ability to do that and feel no pressure to produce content exclusively for us. So we're doing this because, number one, our brand has grown. We have fans all over the world, and there is a power in our brand. I'm not saying that to be crazy. I'm saying that to be 100% honest. Like, we have fans all over the world. We have built a brand that people recognize. Whether we're in the magazine or not, they recognize that brand. Companies recognize our brand. Big companies that you all know about know who we are. They want to work with us. That's a power of a brand. So now, with that being said, we also wanted to establish a system that protects us. There's no secret that we've had creators over the years. In fact, one of the questions is about, how do creators come and go and so forth. And the fact of the matter is that we've always built Saturday AM and Saturday PM to be a home for creators who are diverse or have diverse concepts. At the same time, creators who are producing content that they own. Think about that, because that's not normal. But the problem is that we did it. We don't get the sort of press that we should get, frankly. Again, I've talked about this before. We don't get nearly the press that we should be getting from all the major websites and web portals. And so because of that, then what happens is that people see what we do and they assume it's normal. There's nothing normal about what we do. And the Saturday Submit process helps us protect the fact that what we're doing is so abnormal. We've published 7 graphic novels. Many of the webcomic portals you go to have published none. We have produced 100 issues of consistent content with largely the same team from issue 1 until issue 105. Most companies haven't done that. We've produced a major art tournament every single year for the past 5 years. Discovered amazing creators that we were the first to publish. We discovered creators like Dan Tularshevek. We've brought more prominence to creators who deserve it, like Jay Oden, guys who should be far bigger than they are. We've been able to continue to work to make Jay the success that he should be. We've also worked with a lot of creators who've never thanked us, who've never paid us, who've never promoted and supported us. We've done it because we believe in a World Wide Web where webcomics are respected, where content is more diverse, and where you could potentially someday have this as an art form that you actually can live off of. You haven't got to have a second job working at Pizza Hut. You haven't got to have another job transporting dead bodies. You can actually be doing this, a thing you love, because you're building a fan base. You've got a platform, a brand like Saturday AM that is growing and operating, that we hope one day to be like Marvel Comics, where we've got movies and video games and TV shows and action figures and all these various things, and companies who want to advertise with us, which we have today. But the fact of the matter is that that's not normal. And so Saturday Submit is our way of saying, look, we do what we do really well. We are proud of what we do. We want to work with great creators. Who doesn't? But if the creators want to work with us, and they want to get the benefits of the things that we do, the benefits of books and retail and all the things that we do, then they'll want to be exclusive. We don't have to force them. We don't have to tell them that this is the only way we operate. They should want that. But that's only going to happen when they get to experience what we can do without those things. And so Saturday Submit is our way to continue to protect the amazing things that we've done and are doing, and at the same time to work with amazing creators that we have always admired, but have been unfortunately on the other side of our little neighborhood. So we have the rules. You have to be 19 or older. We have the other rule that you have to be an existing webcomic creator. This is not the place for you to create content if you've never done it before. And I know this is a point that keeps getting brought up, so I want to make sure I address this. Saturday's AM Submit is not a place for you if you've never created a webcomic before. We have a program for that. It's called Summer of Manga. If you create webcomics, then we want to talk to you. That's always been true, but now there's a process for it. Does that mean we'll publish everybody? Of course not. We couldn't publish everybody if we tried. And because we have gotten bigger, then we do have higher standards. Yes, we expect you to be a stronger artist. We expect you to draw a lot of backgrounds. We expect you to tell stories that are competent. If that's not where you are, then no, it's probably not going to be the right fit for Saturday AM Submit. But you're certainly welcome to apply, and we want to see your content. If nothing else, you will help us learn that there's another amazing creator from another country that we didn't know about, or from another part of the United States that we didn't know about. So Saturday AM Submit is our way to continue to really double down on what we believe in more than anything, which is diversity in manga comics. We care about discovering new creators, male or female, gay or straight, with characters who are the same. We want to produce great content. We are recognized for that around the world. Big companies far bigger than us, know who we are because of how dedicated we've been to what we do. Saturday AM Submit is the next great iteration, the next great revolution that we've started that we believe will really change a lot of things, because now, once we do it, there's going to be a real serious question for a lot of the other companies of why are they trying to be exclusive? Now it's going to come down to who can really help these creators to reach the objectives that they have. And we're not sure it's us, but we know that we're going to work our butts off making Saturday AM and Saturday PM the greatest brands for webcomic original-based content. Diverse manga content. So that being said, that is a process. You can find all the information out at the address you see there. And we're now going to answer some of the questions that have been associated with this. And hopefully we can clear up any sort of remaining issues there might be. By the way, it is live. It was live today. We've got a number of entries already. So you got until the 10th. Oh, one last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, I got on my notes here, is that the way this will work is that this is a monthly submission period, but it only operates for the first 10 days of the month. Why are we doing it that way? So today is the 1st. Submissions open today. It will only run until the 10th. Why are we doing it that way? We're doing it that way because, again, as Raymond indicated before, deadlines matter. And we've discovered that the simple act of having a deadline really shows us who's a serious creator and who's not. Number 2 is because we have a business to run. Our business is not analyzing comics. Our business is to make comics. Everyone on this call makes a series that is very important to Saturday AM. So from that standpoint, we have to do that as our core business. We also make videos. We also are building a community on amino apps. We also are reaching out to companies to advertise with us. We're also developing our brand to be turned into animation and video games and other things. So we're really busy. So we can't spend the entire month reviewing content. So basically, the 1st of the month until the 10th of the month is the period for you to submit your content. If you try to get your content on the 11th, we won't accept it. In fact, the option will be deleted. If you are a subscriber, a premium subscriber, however, you will get 5 additional days. How does that work? It works because we're going to contact our subscribers every month and say, hey, you have this date here, and here's a separate link for you. So if you're reading Saturday AM for free on the magazine, we thank you for doing that. Continue to do it, please. But if you're not paying to help us continue to keep the company where it needs to be, then you won't get that extra benefit of the extra days. You also won't get the benefit of having us provide detailed critiques of your work. That is something we're reserving for paying customers. So every month, the first of the month, if you've got a comic you want to submit to us, you can do so. And folks, one last thing I'll say, because I've seen this question again, is no, we're not going to review the same work every month. So if you didn't get it the first month and we passed on you and you submitted a second time and then a third time and a fourth time, we're just going to throw it immediately in the disregard pile because we can't, that's not the way this works. So with that being said, let's get to the questions. All right. Do you accept shonen or shoujo too? I'm going to give this question to Andrea. Andrea, do we accept shonen and do we accept shoujo?
Yep.
Exactly. Andrea, you said it. You said it all. Yes, we do. We do. In fact, let me say, folks, as well, we also accept LGBT. And so, you know, look, I want everyone to know that Saturday, as you saw in the video, the beautiful video that White put together, Saturday is for everyone. So bottom line, if you've got a concept, we're going to judge it on its merits. We're not going to judge it because it's a mystery or it's a thriller or it involves two people talking in a coffee shop or one person's black and one person's white, one person's Asian, one person's Indian. We're not going to judge it on that. We're going to judge it on, is it a great story? And do we have the vehicles to support it? There are some stories that we will see that I promise you will be so good that we want to publish, but we don't think that we could do it justice. So from that standpoint, just do know that we're gonna love to see every content we get. But there'll be some things that even though we love it, we still can't publish. Also, I will say that there'll be some content that we don't currently publish that we may say to you, you know what? We've been thinking about starting a magazine that covers this type of material. So we want to keep talking with you. We can't publish you right now, but please stay with us because we're going to be unveiling a new magazine maybe that can cover that. So yes, shonen, shoujo, josei, seinen, we take all of it. Let's see here. Are you guys open to the idea of a sci-fi adventure manga based on existing video game? I think I've seen this person ask the same question before. Are you guys open to the idea of a sci-fi adventure manga based on existing video games, universe, lore, community? Are there any copyright issues, even if it's fandom based on your own characters' experiences? I'm looking for your opinion is all. I'm sure I've answered this before, but I'm going to give this to Raymond. Raymond, what's your answer to this?
I don't know about the copyright part, but I mean, yeah, if it's good, of course.
No, we will not accept a copywritten material product. No, there's no. Why would we take someone else's copyright? This has to be original content, folks.
No, I thought he was asking if it's breaking copyright to do a video game based. It
is. Unless he's got the license for it. Yes, folks. We're not in the business of getting sued. So either you submit to us your original content that you own outright, or you don't. But we're not the place for that. There are other places that are open to publishing doujinshi or fan fiction and so forth. We are not the place for that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. If it's original, I mean obviously you're not going to rip Sonic the Hedgehog. But I mean,
he's saying this is based on existing video game.
Oh, I didn't read it that way. But no, heck no.
Yeah. Okay. White, how many panels of manga do you draw a day? How long did it take you to get to this? Well, we already answered that part, but how many panels of manga do you draw a day?
This a slightly weird question because that's assuming I draw a page every day, but honestly don't know the answer to that. It's I'll have to think about that one. How many panels do I draw a day? I mean, I draw every day and I try to practice and improve every day. But when it comes to specific panels, some days I'll be working on a comic and I'm not working on an actual page. And that includes, comic making is not just the comic itself. It includes like, the writing process and thinking about stuff and thinking about ideas and exploring them and things like that. So some days 0, some days 50, you know, so it just depends.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So, does anyone else have an answer on that? Does anyone else? Anyone else draw every day?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't
Almost
draw
every day. Almost every day. Not exactly every day.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, folks, I draw nothing any day. So yeah, take it from these guys. Someone asked a question of, can I submit a one shot for Summer of Manga? Yes, you can. That literally is what Summer of Manga is we accept one shots only. We're not interested in long stories. We're not interested in your long epic and so forth. Again, folks, I've said this before. You can see this in any of the videos I've done. You can see it in our podcast. But, you know, this is, again, I think one of the reasons why webcomics have kind of a negative connotation to a lot of people is that often, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to somebody young or old who is a novice creator who starts telling me about this, you know, 40 volume epic story they want to tell. They've never done it before. They've never attempted a story before. They've never done a short story. They've never done anything except maybe a drawing here or there. And maybe they've got a few things on their Instagram. Even their Instagram is full of pictures of them. Folks, that's not good enough. It's like saying you want to play in the NBA and you've only dribbled a basketball once or twice in your life. Like, that's just not being realistic. You just heard White say that, you know, he tries to draw every day on some level, maybe not panels, but he tries to draw at least every day, or when he can, he draws every time he can, and that's what it takes. It takes that level of dedication and devotion. And so, if you're going to submit a one shot, again, that's for Summer of Manga. Saturday of Submit is all about an existing webcomic. So if you've got a webcomic, you have at least 50 pages, we will review it. We will accept it for review, and then we'll see from there if it's something that can fit and work with us. Let's see. So let's see. Someone says, well, this is a good question for all of you guys. When did you come up with the idea for the manga you produce? So we'll start with you, White. When did you come up with the idea for Apple Black?
I've always wanted to do manga. So from the moment I wanted to make comics and manga and all that was like 2007. But then Apple Black, in its first iteration, in its first form, in its first draft, came in 2010, mid 2010, and I've just kept developing it since then, and kept developing it to what it is today. So I came up with the idea, like the base idea, which is developed in 2010. In 2010, mid like June. And, you know, as time goes on, your story develops, you do a lot of research and how to, sometimes it's more than just having a cool idea or what you think is a cool idea, but then it's another thing to, you know, learn how to actually execute. And so after spending a lot of time on learning how to execute on all fronts, from writing to art and all of that, and then during that process, you start to come up with even better ideas, and you look at other media like film, and you putting yourself in the shoes of other artists and filmmakers and storytellers, and learning from them. And over time, Apple Black, which I think originally has gone through several name changes as well, but over time, when you're learning and getting inspired and influenced from film, music, creators, history, religion, all of that, and I think it's just molded itself and formed until its release in the year it released, which would be like 2013, but like the volume late 2014, volume 1. And so initially started 2010.
Okay, what about you, Andre? When did you start? It's like got me.
A long time ago. I started it in my first semester of high school, so that was 15 years ago. When I came up with the idea, I drew like 16 or 17 chapters of Origami until like 2012, and then I scratched the whole thing and I restarted the whole story and the whole project in 2013, and that's the Saigami we know today.
Okay, all right. Raymond Brown, when did you start Bully Eater?
Around 2010, like White did. I did Bully Eater as a entry for the Yen Plus short story contest. So It was a one-shot deal, so I just went and put the chapters together, submitted it, and eventually put it on the on the web, and kept kind of going from there.
I do want to say that Raymond, that story you just told would have been so awesome if you did it this way. I first came up with Bully Eater when I was about 7. Billy, this kid who went to my school, beat me up. And at that moment, I knew.
And then it pauses. That's the day Raymond decided to do Bully Eater.
If only someone could beat up Billy. And then years later, through hard work and study and practice, I was able to become the artist capable of telling my story, so that no other kid had to be bullied.
Most artists, they make the main character kind of based off themselves. I base the guys getting beat up off myself.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Okay, so we've got a few more questions here, but I do want to address one question. As you all know by now, when I founded Saturday AM, I'm much older than these guys. I've been doing this a long time. I have no problem smacking down people, even if I like you, and I like this guy. But I have to call out Angel Lewis. Angel, I find it hilarious that you have written us on 3 different social media platforms to tell us that you want to ask a question, and yet you've asked no question. I have read your comment you submitted a question on our website. You have a question on our Amino app, a question on Twitter, a question, not on Instagram, a question on Twitter. And I'm trying to figure out, what is your question? He just keeps saying like, hey, man, y'all got chat off on YouTube. How do I submit a question? That's the question. You're submitting it. You're sending it to us on all these different platforms. What's your question, man? What is your question? You've asked like 3 times to say, why is the chat off? I'm trying to submit a question. And you're submitting the question when you do that. Come on, dude. Let's see here. White, is Apple Black Santa meant to be a passive character? The story seems to be happening to him. He doesn't seem to affect the story through his choices. That's a good question, Mike.
No, he's not passive. I don't know how to. Long story short, he's not passive, and yeah, yeah. I guess if you keep on reading, I don't know how much I don't know what he's read. I don't know how much he's read, so I don't know what he's actually referring to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I mean, straight from the first chapter, he's very involved as to what's going on, and he gets way more involved as things go on. So the answer is no. He's not a passive character. He affects the world around him, and so do some of the other characters. So the way it's kind of structured in Apple Black currently is, right now the other characters, the other main character, the clique of the gang, if you want, if you will, all get their moments where they are affecting the story for story development, character development, and all that. And so I don't know particularly what he's referring to, but he does affect the story. So I don't know what he's referring to. So
I just read the question. I don't know either. Okay, so then a couple more questions. Sorry, submit related. One person says, "What's the difference between creators submitting their work monthly and creators like White Manga, Raymond Brown, Andrea Doney?" I love Andrea. They got your name right the first time asking. And does this give creators the potential to have the same benefits as those 3? So it's a great question. The question's a little off, so let me explain. First of all, creators are not submitting their work monthly. If you submit your work to Saturday and Submit, you're submitting a comic that you already have done. It's already running on the website. Maybe you're updating it right now. And therefore, we're looking at it and saying if we think this is a good title to publish within Saturday AM and Saturday PM. Therefore, all that old content would get published within our magazine. It may come out every issue. It may come out every other issue. That'll be up for us to decide. But if we like it, we'll contact you. We'll discuss what our plans are, and then you have the option to let us publish your work. But you don't submit it every month. Like you don't submit every new chapter every month. If you know, it should be stuff that's already up on another website, your website even. So again, that's different because the Saturday AM creators, especially these three, they're already involved with Saturday AM. Like they're not, you know, they're not going through a process. Not only are they involved, they're owners in the company. So like they're just, you know, they know what they've got to do. In fact, they have multiple tasks that they have to do. So they're working on multiple things all the time. You know, Raymond helps design or manages the design group. Andrea's working with the get Saturday AM assembled each issue. White handles obviously our big YouTube stuff, and he's helping to try to get some new artists set up as well. So, you know, so again, no one is going to be like these three. No one can be like these three because they're such an integral part of what we do at Saturday AM. But now, the other part of your question, though, in relationship to the benefits, as we indicated, or maybe we didn't indicate this, so that's on me actually. So one of the things that Saturday AM Submit will show is three things. The first thing it's going to show us is the core team. The core team are creators who are completely exclusive, 100%. They're involved. They're managers or owners in the company. And so from that standpoint, you know, you're going to always see Hammer here. You're going to always see Clock Striker, Must Side of America, Match Multiplayer World of Ghosts. You're going to always see Apple Black, Saigami, Bully Eater, and Soulbeat. And we expect to hopefully add more creators to that over time. The second tier is beneath that, and that is called featured creators. Featured creators are creators who are producing content exclusively for us initially. So their content debuts with us, but can be put on any other platform. So these are many of the other series that you see with us, Titan King and Spoon and Paradise Down and so on and so forth. So these are creators that, you know, have the option to get their stuff published elsewhere. We believe in them, obviously. We support them tremendously. And so we'll continue to market them and we'll help them get their books and stuff done. They have the option if they want to do something different with their books, they can. So there's lots of different things with featured, but featured is basically that, you know, it's the highest place you can be outside of a core team member. But you have the option, even as a featured person, to put your work on other platforms after a period of time. For Saturday AM, the third level, the bottom level, is pretty much what Saturday AM Submit is. And so what that level is these are creators who already exist outside of Saturday AM. So they can come in, they can produce content for us. We're taking content that may already be produced. You know, we can still help them in all these other ways, but by not being an exclusive creator, some of the benefits would not be the same. So like they wouldn't be able to get the book produced by us without some, you know, financial things. So there's every incentive for someone to want to be exclusive completely in a core team member, but there's also things that creators have to do to get to that level. So if you're starting out via Saturday AM Submit, that's great. You come in, you get a lot of the benefits of the brand and so forth. We're going to continue to market you and push you and stuff, and people have a chance to see whether or not that works for them. Featured creators, you know, they already know what Saturday AM is. They're producing exclusive content for us, and then but then they have the option of taking it elsewhere just to expand their opportunities. And then last but not least, the core team creators, you know, they are Saturday AM. We have something similar Saturday PM. So again, Saturday AM Submit, even though it's called Saturday AM Submit, it includes Saturday PM as well. And those creators are able to submit content to us also. We will take a look at those and publish them inside of Saturday PM if we think the content is strong. So again, that's kind of the difference in terms of three creators here and the benefits of stuff to be gained. Let me see here. We got the question here. Let's see here. White, this is for you. It's for all the creators, but they basically are saying, you know, look, big fan of yours. They have ideas in their head that when they try to go about, you know, they want to see it one day as animation, and you guys know how I feel about that. But I draw out the character designs. I get scared to draw at all because my shading and knowing where to put details and stuff. Basically, long story short, this person's saying, look, you know, they follow your website, they follow your YouTube, White, they follow your advice and stuff, but they get frustrated with everything that they're doing. And they're trying to figure out what they can do, how they can advance. I think it's a deeper question, but I'm going to let you take a stab at it, and then we'll go from there. So feel free to address this young person.
I'll say that you kind of have to be patient, and it's good to know where your errors are on all fronts. It seems like you kind of know a little bit of what your errors are already, and I'll say work on those specifically, and maybe forget about your story for a second, right? And work on improving on that front, and then before you can resume on doing all the other stuff. I'll say that when it comes to comic creation, you need that true talk with yourself as to what you actually want to accomplish, and being realistic in how you want to achieve those things, coming up with a strategy and then executing. And here, if you clearly know what an issue is and what a problem is and you're frustrated about it, I'll just say, again, be patient, but then work on that specifically, and think in steps. And so I think the first step would be to fix that, and address your frustrations. And again, that's what I'll say for that aspect of your question specifically. And going back into my white manga mode, there's a video on this. So there's a video where I talk about, when are you actually ready to make comics or make manga, and create almost, it actually applies to anything. When are you actually ready to create? And that's when you've built a certain level of confidence and you know exactly what you're doing, right? If you just jump into it and you have holes in your blueprint, then it's all going to fall. If you don't have a strong foundation, it's all going to fall. So I highly recommend you check that video out. It actually did well. A lot of people liked it, and if you watch it, I answer probably all the questions you may have and more.
Yeah, look, I think, look, I think it's always great when people are being honest with themselves, and I think this young person is, being honest about the frustration they feel. I think, Raymond and I have talked a lot about mental health when it comes to doing comics and stuff, and I always get very frustrated when I talk to young people who claim mental health issues, because I take it very seriously. I'm a older person. I have my own struggles trying to run this company and manage, great creators like White and other creators as well. So, it's things like this, where you can get depressed or something like this. To take a cue from White, I talked about this in the episode of Saturday FM. Talk about the 5 traits for success. You should check out that episode. I think it's episode 3 or 4. But one of the things that I touched on in that is that I think one of the first things is that, and I've said this in many videos as well, folks, you are not entitled to a career in comic books. Like, I don't know why more people don't say this. I'm really stunned by this, because it's not rocket science. You're not entitled to it because you like it, because you enjoy it, because you spend money on it, because your mother, your father, your uncle, your friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your best friend told you could draw. It does not mean you're entitled to have a career at this. This is the realest talk you're going to hear, folks. We're not entitled to it. No one is entitled to it. This is the real world. I need people who can fix my roof, repair my air conditioner, people who can prepare my food if I go to a restaurant. I don't need someone's interpretation of manga. This is the real world. So don't get frustrated over things that are irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. If you do comics and what you produce you like and you enjoy them, and you're not worried about making money at it, you're not worried about having a career at it, you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine, because you've got the right mentality. It makes you happy. If you are doing this, you have the potential to be really good at it. You have the potential to excite a lot of people with it. You started out doing it for yourself, and people started checking it out on some of these other webcomic sites, or on your own website, or on your Instagram, telling you, hey, I really like this. Why'd you stop drawing that? Keep drawing. I really like that. If you have the potential to excite a fan base, then yeah, keep at it. You shouldn't get frustrated then, because you're touching people. But again, I don't know this person. If the question, and we see this a lot, is, I'm trying to create content, but every time I try to create content that I haven't even put out there for people to see, I dislike it, then I question if you understand the real world principle that you're not entitled to be a comic book creator. Because if you're that worried about stuff that you don't even show other people, if you think there's going to be some way to look at things differently, if you beat yourself up that much over something that you should be doing because you love it, you got to question, are you really meant to be doing this? Saturday AM Submit, again, is all about existing webcomic creators. We're not trying to train you how to make webcomics. You already know how to make webcomics. We're looking for folks who do it and do it really well, and that we think that we can help them get an even bigger audience because they're inside of Saturday AM or Saturday PM or a new magazine. If you have talent, if you really believe this is something you want to try, then I recommend you try our fan art competitions like Fan Art Friday, which is coming soon in August, or March Art Manage, because at that moment, you get to challenge yourself to see if you're a really good artist. You get to compete for prizes against other artists. And that's a real test. That's not like, you got a couple of free likes on Instagram. That's a real test for real stakes. You're not going to lose your life. It's not going to make a difference of whether or not you can pay your bills, but it's a good test. So I recommend you try that first. If you then think that you can tell a story, if you're like, I know I can draw. I've done a couple of these art competitions. People tell me I can draw really well. I've won a few things. So you know what? I want to give this a try. I love comics. I want to tell comic stories. Again, do it for yourself. Make sure that you're happy by it. But then enter our summer of manga competition. Because the whole point of that is showing you can tell a story. Again, if your thought of the first time trying to do this is you're going to try to be like White Manga or Andrea Doty or Raymond Brown, that you're going to create a character like Clock Striker or some of the other series that we have, if that's your first thought the first time you try to do this, then yeah, you may fail. Because you're not entitled to this. None of us are. The people who succeed at this, the Stephen Kings, the J.K. Rowlings, the Masashi Kishimotos, the Akira Toriyamas, the people who succeed at this will be the first to tell you that they got lucky. They weren't entitled to success. They worked hard, be clear. But what they created just happened to catch on at the right time, at the right moment, and the rest is history. J.K. Rowling was struggling, single mother, before she created Harry Potter. Satoshi Kishimoto had several series rejected before he created Naruto, the final version of Naruto. Stephen King had gotten many rejection letters before he created the seminal classics that he's known for, like It and Pet Sematary and all the stuff he's done. Jim Lee is famous for talking about how many times he was rejected before he first got his chance to work at Marvel Comics. Please understand that just because you like us or like our creators or like our characters, you're not entitled to do this, period. So you work hard, you stay focused, you appreciate what you're able to do that puts a smile on your face. Rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. Do it over again, do it over again, do it over again. And then guess what? Like White Manga says, maybe 10 years later, you will be at such a level of proficiency that you can produce a couple of graphic novels like he's done. You can be a co-founder in a company. You can have a brand that's very, very popular like Apple Black. You can, even amongst creators who are more popular than White has still accomplished a great deal. But it doesn't happen overnight. None of this happens overnight. And none of this happens because this is what you want. It happens because you work hard. It happens because you're able to do it, and it puts a smile on your face. And it happens because at some point, a little bit of luck breaks your way. And that's the simple truth, folks. So again, with that, I want you guys to seriously think about Saturday AM Submit. We are so interested in discovering great creators from around the world, no matter what your orientation is, no matter how tall you are, no matter how overweight you are, no matter how skinny you are, no matter what your race is, your ethnicity, your creed, your nationality, your religion, your orientation. We don't care. Saturday AM is for everyone. And that everyone includes everyone listening to this. So with that being said, we can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I'm going to give it over to these guys for a final comment before we sign off. I'm sure Wyatt will plug more stuff, which I hope he does. I hope he plugs us on his videos, folks. Folks, hashtag White Manga video Saturday AM. So White will do more of those. Raymond, any final words?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what people submit. I'm excited. Really exciting time for Saturday. It's gonna be really cool.
Andrea, any final comments?
Same here. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see where this is going. So yeah.
All right, White, any final comments?
Just like everybody else, I think if you truly feel this is what you want to do and you're going to submit, and for people who are just already submitting and all the submissions that have come our way already, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to even work with them if need be, and just have fun doing it. And I think we're gonna have fun. It's gonna be a blast.
All right, folks. I've already made my final comment. So again, I just want to say, folks, thank you so much. You guys, you really don't know how much we appreciate each and every one of you guys, from the haters to the lovers to the supporters, those who are subscribers and customers of ours. We truly appreciate all you guys because, again, we do this stuff and sometimes it's very thankless, but you know what? It makes us proud. We're proud of what we do. It puts a smile on our faces. And the fact that so many of you have embraced this around the world, literally from Egypt to Israel, all the way to Brazil, Argentina, and everywhere in between. I cannot tell you how incredibly proud I am of the work that these three guys have done, and the folks, and all the folks that we have: Jay Oden, Morgan Walker, Tony Dawkins, J.R. DeBar, Jeffrey John Luis. The list goes on and on and on. Thank you so much, folks, for supporting us. We will see more. You can, again, get the information here. We have our regular podcast, so please check those out. Yes, we're going to be reviewing more of the Summer of Manga titles on our podcast, so please stay tuned for the next episode of Summer of Manga, Saturday FM podcast. Likewise, issue 105 for Saturday M comes out next couple of weeks. You will start to see some of this new content, new series, and new one-shots debuting, beginning with issue 105. The first artist out the gates, Ricky Duran, who's doing a beautiful series called Atlas Article. So stay tuned for that. Saturday PM, issue number 5 is coming out. It's got a brand new series from a brand new creator named Rashad, who's doing a series called Outland. White Manga has been working with them on this, so we're really excited about that. You can see it in issue 5 of Saturday PM later this month. Last but not least, we are going to be doing a Fan Art Friday. Of course, again, is going to be launching later this summer. It's going to be a brand new website, a brand new experience. So please check that out. And we'll be giving a lot more updates about Saturday AM Submit soon. So please stay tuned for that. You can find it out on our website. White will be talking about it on his YouTube channel. Andrea will be talking about it on her YouTube channel. And of course, we'll be talking about it on all of our social media networks. The final thing I'll say about our social media networks, we're on Instagram, both Saturday AM and Saturday PM, Twitter, Saturday AM and Saturday PM, Facebook, Saturday AM and Saturday PM. And we have a brand new community. And folks, please go check this out. It is truly everything I've wanted to do in a community space since Pilot Manga. It's called the Saturday AM Community, and it's on Amino Apps. You can go there. You can share information and fan art for Saturday AM characters. All the creators will tell you about the things that they're working on and give you insights as to what they're doing. We got some great tutorial videos exclusively on that platform. We're going to see more of our creators there. White's on there, Morgan's on there, Raymond's on there, Andrea's on there. So, folks, please, it's free to join. Just go check it out. Sign on and just see all the content we're building in there. And I trust you'll have a lot of fun with it. So, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Again, I want to thank White Manga, Andrea Doni, and Raymond Brown. Thank you guys again for checking us out. We will see you very, very, very soon. Bye-bye.